Hey there, fellow horse lovers. Welcome back to the Daily Ride podcast. My name is Morgan. I am your host. And today we are diving into the incredible bond between horses and humans and how that can be healing for us. Whether you're a rider, a trainer, or someone who just enjoys horses or is fascinated by the psychology of horsemanship, this episode will dive into the science, some personal stories, and talk about the therapeutic benefits of this special connection we have between humans and horses. The Daily Ride podcast directly supports True Heart Healing, my nonprofit foundation that is dedicated to leveraging the healing power of horses and using the joy of equine companionship to support veterans, service members, children with disabilities and/or life-altering illness, and their families to develop stabilizing relationships, heal, find hope, and discover purpose. We are so grateful for your support. Head on over to www.the-daily-ride.com to make a donation to support us. True and I very much appreciate it. There's something magical about the bond we experience between horses and humans. I often say horses live partly in the spirit world, and I do think there is some kind of soul tie that is possible between an equine and a human. From ancient civilizations to our modern day partnership with horses, they've always played a significant role in our human history and our well-being. The saying often goes that dogs are man's best friend, but horses truly helped us write history. So, what is it about this interspecies connection that is so profound? To answer this question, there's a couple of hints that we can really investigate today. Horses have really unique social behavior that impacts the communication between horse and human species in interesting ways. And we can leverage that connection in therapeutic environments for our benefit as well as our horse's benefit. So a horse is a social animal. Horses are meant to be herd animals. This is how they survive in the wild. They are large prey, and their best survival is when they are in a large group. They have highly developed social systems to help them navigate these large herds. And in the wild, they really rely on this social system for their own safety and survival. They form really strong attachments to each other within the herd, and these sometimes are familial attachments. Mares and fillies typically remain with their ancestral band or herd of horses in the wild, while stallions will sometimes remain with their familial bond if they can make peace with the dominant stallion in the group. Sometimes in the wild, you also see male stallions going off and forming a bachelor band of horses as well. So they're not meant to be solitary creatures. They understand family ties, they understand trust, they understand friendship because this is how they survive. Because they are able to communicate complex ideas within a large herd, this allows them to foster a sense of teamwork among their community. When they encounter danger, how does the herd as a whole handle this? Oftentimes, when there's danger spotted, say a wolf or a bear is lurking close by to the herd, this will be communicated very efficiently throughout the group. And the old and the young horses will be protected in the middle of the group, while the young horses have a better opportunity around the edges of the group to either defend or move the group to better safety. And this wouldn't be possible if they weren't able to clearly communicate with each other. This social and communicative nature is one of the reasons why horses bond so well with us as humans. And in fact, there have been some studies that show that horses have a remarkable ability not just to communicate with us, but to read and respond to human emotions. In a study conducted in 2018, researchers found that horses recognize human facial expressions and they remember them later. So this study involved showing horses pictures of people that had different facial expressions, either happy, smiling, or angry, scowling. And then they observed the horses' behaviors when they met those same people in person. And they found the horses remembered what expression that person had on, whether it was happy or angry, and they adjusted their behavior when they first met that person accordingly. So they're very sensitive. They have a good memory for emotions. They're good at interpreting them, even across species, even in human faces. And they behave according to the emotion that they've seen from that specific person. This sensitivity to human emotion and understanding how those emotions express themselves is a key factor in why horses are so effective in a therapeutic setting. Even beyond therapy, their understanding of human emotion and communication enriches our riding experience. When you are on your horse, it's not about control, it's about connection. It's about creating a partnership based on trust and mutual understanding between you, even if it's a completely nonverbal conversation. So let's talk more about that communication piece. Horses rely on body language, subtle cues like their ear position or tail movements, and their energy to talk to each other. So, as a human rider or handler, it's really our responsibility to learn that language and use that system of communication when we try to work with them. Dr. Alan McDonnell, a renowned equine behaviorist, has highlighted the role of mirroring in horse-human interactions that he's observed. So essentially, horses will mirror the emotional and physical state of the human that is working with them. And we see this a lot when we are riding. When you are anxious and nervous, your horse will become anxious and nervous. Whereas a horse that was previously having a meltdown can have a new rider that is confident and calm get on their back, and suddenly the horse becomes confident, calm. My trainer, Tara, has a trick that she uses to leverage this understanding. She calls it the tic-tac trick. When horses are calm and relaxed, they lick and chew. So when we are in a situation with our horse, say you're performing at a rodeo or you have an intense competition coming up, or you've just had a really tough day and you need to relax, put a tic-tac in your mouth. That will make you lick and chew and trick your body into relaxing a little bit. Your horse will hear you lick and chew and will mirror you and lick and chew as well. And so together, the two of you can become more relaxed. And this really speaks to how, as riders, we have to be very aware of our own body language and what we may or may not be aware that we are saying with our bodies. We need to become more in tune with how we move, how we're breathing, what we're thinking about, and what energy we're giving off in order to learn the language of the horse. This kind of communication requires a feedback loop. So we need to understand how the signals that we are giving off impact our horse's behavior. And our horse's behavior, in turn, will give us a clue as to what messages they're receiving and how that makes them feel. And then we can adjust accordingly. So, as part of communication, it is not just being aware of what you're telling your horse, but it is crucial to be listening to what they're receiving from you. So, this in and of itself can make horses really powerfully therapeutic because they register and react to our emotions even when we don't realize we're having them. If subconsciously you're still annoyed about something that happened earlier on in your day, your horse will know and your horse will act accordingly. They are perfectly honest mirrors. This is why we often hear stories about people telling us that their horse does a certain behavior every single day, but the one day that the vet comes out to look at them, or the one day that they have a buyer come out to evaluate the horse, the owner gets a little nervous or is anxious or concerned, and the horse will react to that. And suddenly, that thing that their horse used to do every single day, poof, it's gone. Because your horse has picked up on that subconscious difference on that specific day. Your horse also knows when you don't know something. They know when you know, and they know when you don't know. They can hear your heartbeat from over 5 feet away. So when we're being deceptive, our heart rates will often change slightly due to the physiological changes required for deception in our bodies. And our horses can hear this. They're essentially living, breathing polygraph machines. And because they can hear your heartbeat, if you are being deceptive with them, they will pick up on that. And they use this information to establish the pecking order and establish their understanding of your leadership capability. They want a leader who is confident and self-assured. They want a leader who makes decisions to protect themselves as well as the rest of the herd. They want a leader who is honest, and they want a leader whose energy feels good to be around. Horses know that we aren't horses, but they also do look to us for leadership. Sometimes when True tries to play with me, I think she forgets that there is a big size difference between us. For example, she'll run and act like she wants me to go run with her, and I think she kind of forgets that I can't keep up with her. But they're completely aware that we are a very different species from them. But they're also wired to get along with us. They're wired to get along with the rest of the herd. They're wired to get along with humans because this is how they survive. Remember, they're herd animals. So if they aren't wired to be able to foster that social connection, they'll be ostracized. And that makes it dangerous for them. They find safety in a group. And to be in a group, you have to play nice with others. But groups also require good leadership. And good leadership is a skill. And horses are masters at detecting whether or not that skill has been well developed both in another horse and in a human. And this is a key factor that makes horses really powerful when we're working with veterans and service members, because horses don't care what rank you are. They don't care what your experience is, where you've been deployed, how long you've been in, how many people or assets you're in charge of. They only respond to your ability to regulate your own emotions and to make decisions that they trust are in their best interest, not just your own. Horses will pick up on your body cues, like your heart rate, your breathing, if you're sweating, as well as the energy that you're giving off. In fact, some horses even seem to be telepathic because they are so sensitive to our energy. And they take all of this information that they're picking up from you, and they decide based on that if you are a fit leader that they should follow or not. So when we have clients who are transitioning out of military into civilian life, the loss of authority because you're no longer in a system that cares about rank can sometimes be really jarring to experience. And so practicing and becoming aware of the nuances of leadership and communication through working with horses can help prepare our warriors for civilian life by facilitating that development and strengthening of those leadership skills. And you can do this without riding. This applies to everyday horse care, being around your horse, grooming your horse. That relationship and those leadership skills grow stronger the more that we listen to and respect and learn to speak those nonverbal cues. In fact, this communication and that connection is what equine-assisted therapy is really built upon. Horses have this amazing ability to respond to human emotions and mirror our behaviors and mirror our energy. And that's a powerful tool that we can use for healing. I found a really interesting study that was conducted in 2007 that measured the effects of equine-assisted therapy on people that were struggling with anxiety and trauma. In the study, participants who engaged in therapeutic riding sessions showed significant reductions in their symptoms of PTSD, anxiety, and depression. Researchers posited that this was because of the non-judgmental and calming presence of horses and how this can help individuals process their emotions and process their trauma in ways that traditional therapies couldn't always reach. Also, the physical movement of a horse can play a key role in therapy. There is a piece to regulating our physical bodies that is very rhythmic, and as horses move, that rhythm mimics the human gait, mimics the human heartbeat, mimics the human movements, which can in turn stimulate muscles, help coordinate our balance, especially with those that have physical disabilities. And through this movement of our physical body, emotional regulation and connection feels more natural in that rhythm as well. So clients will often report feeling a sense of safety and trust that sometimes is hard to find in a human relationship, especially if you're someone who's experienced trauma or abuse. This is exactly the kind of communication and bond that I am trying to model with True so that she is able to model and provide it for the folks that we work with in the future. A mentor of mine, Jeannie Springer from the Remount Foundation, once told me that horses give us permission to feel what we need to feel. And it's true, their presence is really calming. And there's additional science that supports this. A horse's heart is much larger than our own. Our heart is controlled by our vagus nerve. Because a horse's heart and their electromagnetic field emitted by their heart and nervous system is so much larger than ours, it has the ability to regulate our heartbeat and our vagus nerve when we're close to them. So there have been studies that demonstrate that our heartbeat will sync up to a horse's heartbeat when the horse chooses to engage with us. This is mind-blowing to me because quite literally horses support our physical bodies to help us remain calm and steady while we're processing and sitting with really difficult emotions and memories. So this is more than horses just giving us permission to feel what we need to feel. They're able to provide a life raft or an anchor for our physical bodies to keep us steady while we're weathering intense emotional and mental storms. So how can you strengthen a bond with your own horse, and how can you create a beneficial and therapeutic relationship? I've got some ideas. Outside of riding, can you spend quality time together? Maybe just have a grooming day, or take a walk together, or simply just hang out. Horses recognize and respond to companionship, and non-riding activities of companionship with your horse can help build trust. What does your horse enjoy doing? You'll need to focus heavily on answering that question if you're going to incorporate positive reinforcement. And just like people, horses have really complex preferences. They're complex individuals. I personally believe that horses can have love languages. So, for those who are unfamiliar, the idea of love languages refers to what mode of communicating affection that we typically revert to or that we understand. Most people tend to have one or two that are very impactful for them, but I believe that it's possible for us to engage in all of them. And I think this varies based on person and reaction and context. So, the 5 original love languages for people are words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, gifts, and physical touch. So, what's your horse's love language? And specifically, what does that look like for your horse? It might be really easy to say, oh, my horse enjoys quality time, but what is quality time to your horse? Is that grazing? Is that working together? Is that just hanging out where you bring a book and sit under a tree and your horse does their own thing and you're just kind of around? What seems to make the biggest impact on your horse? Answering these questions also requires that you listen to your horse's cues. Your horse is always talking to you. So it's important to learn to recognize your horse's body language and responses to questions you ask. If they seem anxious or resistant, especially if your horse starts making faces at you, it's important to address the underlying cause of what it is they're trying to tell you, whether they're uncomfortable, they're afraid of something, you're confusing them. This is really important. For some horses, they may have already become really shut down and have given up on trying to communicate. This, again, is part of learned helplessness, where a horse has learned that no matter what their behavior is, it does not impact the outcome. And so they quit trying to communicate. That's not a life sentence. It is possible to learn to communicate with the horse, even if they've become emotionally shut down. I think the key to establishing a back and forth conversation with your horse is telling them in no uncertain terms that you were listening. Drew and I went through something similar when I first got her, when I was struggling to connect with her and understand what she was communicating with me. And I turned to a pretty famous trainer named Warwick Schiller, and he had this idea of matching steps with your horse. Basically, your horse's front feet, you mirror exactly what your horse does. You become their copycat. And even if your horse is across the paddock not paying attention to you, you're paying attention to them and you're copying their front feet and you're matching steps with them, even if they're doing something completely different. And within a couple of minutes, your horse will notice you're copying them. And that moment is really cool to witness. I wish I had gotten this on camera, but I remember the first time that True noticed that I was copying her footsteps. It was like a light bulb switched on. She was noticing me, noticing her. She saw me seeing her. That was a big deal. And it's no wonder, because being seen and being understood is at the heart of belonging. And your horse needs to feel like you are listening to them. They need to feel heard. Knowing that you belong and that you are being seen is the foundation to trust. So make sure that you can communicate to your horse that you are noticing them, that you are watching them, that you are paying attention to them, even if it's just copying their footsteps. Another easy thing you can do to help build connection here is play the scratch game. If you're at a place with your horse where they allow you to safely touch them and they're a horse that enjoys physical touch, I enjoy playing this game with True, where I find her best scratchy spot each day. And of course, each day it's a different spot, although she's never said no to butt scratches before. But noticing her reaction to each different scratching spot can also communicate to your horse that, hey, I'm paying attention to you. I notice your reaction. I'm looking for your reaction and I'm adjusting because I want to find the best scratchy spot. The more you can show your horse that you are listening to them, the more they will try to tell you. Horses also thrive on routine and clear communication. Being consistent in your training is really crucial because trust is built over time. And this is a great opportunity to practice boundaries, especially for us recovering people pleasers. It's easy to keep promises to other people, but sometimes it's hard to keep promises to ourselves. But with horses, there's not really a difference, and consistency really is king. A promise is a promise, and you need to keep it no matter who you made it to. Horses notice if you aren't consistent, and they will adjust their behavior and trust in you accordingly. Remember, they pick up on things that you're saying, even in your subconscious mind. So it's crucial to work on your self-awareness and your self-mastery and keep promises to yourself too, so they will trust that you can keep promises to them. Your horse can read you like a book. And if you have established that communication, they will be honest with you about what is on the pages. You also have to trust your horse. Your horse will often give you feedback about how they're feeling and what they need from you. Trust your horse's responses and adjust your own behavior accordingly. Listen to them. Remember, a conversation is not just telling them things, but hearing what they respond with. And the more you listen to them, the more they will say. Once they realize that they aren't shouting into the void when they try to communicate something to you, they'll start offering up more and more information. So listen to it, even and especially when it's hard to hear. I struggled in the beginning and had a lot of anxiety around True's protestations about things because I couldn't tell the difference between ouch and I don't want to. And with more time and practice listening to her, it's gotten a lot easier for me to hear the distinction in what she's trying to communicate with me. Building a strong bond and strong communication is a lifelong journey. And like any relationship, it takes effort, understanding, and respect. Tony Robbins is credited with saying that a relationship is not a place that you go to get, it's a place that you go to give. And so building that strong bond and good communication requires a focus on what you can provide to your horse or a human partner and not what they can do for you. I've witnessed people have a tough time catching their horses, and watching this interaction reminds me of what we as humans do when we see someone coming and we just know that they're going to want something from us and we really don't want to deal with them. Your horse feels the same way. They might be thinking like, oh, here comes my human again. She always wants me to do stuff. She never listens when I tell her I'm tired or something is too difficult for me. I just don't have any patience left for her today. Or she's nice enough and I know she means well, but she never listens to me no matter what I say or do. It's like she doesn't even notice. It's like talking to a brick wall. So no wonder that horse sees you coming and turns around and avoids you like the plague. Because if you felt like that, wouldn't you? We never want our horses or our human loved ones to feel that way about us. We want them to see us coming and get excited. So we can fix this by shifting our energy into giving to our horses rather than just demanding things. And as a bonus, this energy shift works on people too. Thanks for joining me today on this exploration of the bond and communication between horses and humans. I hope you found today's episode insightful. If you're interested in learning more about how we use the horse-human bond with True Heart Healing, please visit our website at www.the-daily-ride.com. And remember, your support helps further our mission to provide life-changing equine-assisted healing to our community, so please consider a donation. Until next time, keep riding, keep learning, keep connecting with your horse, and enjoy the ride.